The Magicians podcast is brought to you in proud association with the Magic Circle, Alakazam Magic, and Gigio.
In that aspect, it was disappointing, and I remember when the show, got its schedule and it was going to air, I didn't want to watch it.
Hello my friends, welcome to the Magicians podcast. My name is Richard Young, I am your host of course, and thank you very much for pressing the download button. My guest this week is Troy. He is my new favourite magician in the whole world. The reason is he's been an absolute delight to deal with over the last couple of weeks with this podcast. You're about to hear an incredibly open and candid interview with him, and I really appreciate his honesty, which you're about to hear, and I know you will too. If you don't know him very well, don't worry, you're going to find out all about him, and I promise by the end of this episode, you will like him a lot. But before we get to the interview, I have time to let you know about our competition, which is going on at the moment. You can win the fantastic Wiki Test and Earworm, and the Wiki Test will include the Pro upgrade. It's a prize worth over £130, courtesy of Mark Kirstein. It's very simple how you enter. Just get yourself onto Instagram, post a photo of where you are listening to this podcast. You don't have to be in the photo yourself, and tag us in. We are at The Magicians Podcast. Tag in my co-host at Alan Hudson Magic and the creator, Mark Kirstein. He is at Magic Mark. Very important, Mark has a C on the end, not a K. If you do that before the 31st of March, you'll be entered into a prize draw and you will stand a great chance of winning this fantastic prize. Okay, I think it's time to check in with my co-host Alan Hudson and find out what's going on in the world of magic this week. Alan Hudson, what's going on out there, my friend?
I have just been listening once again to the Paul Keeve podcast from last week.
Ah, did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I did. It's really good. Do you know what? I think you get the most from these podcasts when you listen to them twice.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, it is a good idea, isn't it? Not necessarily this bit. This bit probably just the once, if that.
If that, yeah. For some people, it's not at all.
No, skip 20 minutes and then into the poddy. But yeah, no, you must have been in the element with that, because there's all the stuff that we like to talk about, which is magic and musicals.
Yeah, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Yeah, it was great, and it was obviously, as I've mentioned before, I get to talk to these people after the podcast as well. In actual fact, with Paul, it was the other way round. I spent a lot of time with him before we pressed record, and got to see some stuff in his house. He's got an amazing historical magic collection, and he talked about obviously lots of magicians and lots of interesting things.
He's got a good poster collection as well, hasn't he?
He really has, yeah. In fact, if you look at Paul Keeve's Instagram this week, you can see a photo. David Blaine visited him. There's a photo of him stood with David Blaine in his hallway, and you can see some of the amazing posters behind him. So, yeah, it was really good. I'm glad I finally got to meet him. He's obviously, very well known, and that insight into how the magic worked in Ghost, I thought was worth the journey alone for me.
Yeah, no, that was really good.
What was really going on.
And I like that you managed to bring up Les Mis a few times, because people might not know this, but you are a fan of Les Mis, and I don't think you've mentioned it before on the podcast.
Big fan.
I mean, I think people have turned it into a drinking game. Anytime you mention broadcast journalist, hooky, Leachin, or Les Mis.
Yeah. Podcast bingo. Yeah.
On the other side of Les Mis, not just mentioning how you enjoy it, you had a video thing, didn't you? Not just
This was incredible. So if you don't follow the podcast on social media, you really are only getting a quarter of the experience of what this podcast can offer your life. Because last week I woke up and I had a message from Andy Nyman on WhatsApp, and it was a video. And I opened it and I could not believe what I was seeing. Now, obviously, I know a lot about Les Mis, and I also know a lot about, the people who have played all the parts over the years. And last year, I took my parents to see Les Mis, and the night we were there, the guy playing Jean Valjean was a guy called Killian Donnelly. Now, Killian's amazing because he's been in Les Mis for a long time. In fact, he's quite famous, I understand, because he's one of the only guys ever. He was what's known as a swing, which means that he can play lots of different parts if people get sick. And there was a day when he played Javert and Jean Valjean in the same day, where he did a matinee as one and an evening as the other.
I thought you were about to say in the same show. That's
not
impossible.
Quite the same show, but no, in the same day, a matinee and an evening. So he sang both sides of the confrontation in one day in the West End, which is incredible. So Killian has made his way up through the ranks, and he is now Jean Valjean. And this is a video message from Killian Donnelly. He is currently touring with Les Mis because it's on a UK tour at the moment. So he finished in the West End last summer, and then he's gone on tour since the autumn. And it's a message from Killian Donnelly to myself and Andy Nyman congratulating us on singing the confrontation on the podcast that he'd listened to. Somehow it got back to him. I know how it did, actually, because there's a guy called Simon Lipkin who is a friend of the Nymans, and Simon is about to play the part that Andy Nyman used to play in Ghost Stories, Professor Goodman. And Simon heard the podcast. He likes magic and obviously likes musicals. He asked Killian if he could send us a message. So absolutely made my life. I was over the moon. And it's on the Magicians Podcast Instagram page. And there's a brilliant detail that I've left out, which is that Killian is in costume. He's in costume as Jean Valjean. He's got the makeup and the microphones, everything. It's just absolutely brilliant. So,
yes, that's what makes it funny.
Hey, have I told you that this podcast in the last week has moved to a whole nother level?
No.
We now have, like all great journalistic publications do, a source from the inside.
Ooh.
I got a text message from someone anonymous that genuinely, I don't know who it is.
Okay.
But they are now the official source for the Magicians Podcast.
Right.
They know what's going on. To be honest, they're a bit of a threat to you, actually, because they know more about what's going on.
I'm the guy with the finger on the pulse. I'm the guy that's... It's Hudson, what's going on? I know what's going on.
So basically, this guy, or lady, I have no idea, is leaky. And basically, he's been giving me some information about what's going on out there that we're not aware of. So, first one, I don't know who this is, but there is apparently a big name in UK magic right now who is currently developing a magic project inside a big shopping centre in London in an empty shop. Don't know anything more about it than that, other than that it's a big name in magic. It's never been done before, and it's kind of like a purpose-built theatre space, magic workshop, magic shop kind of thing, and it's coming soon.
Right.
Again, I don't know who it is, don't know where this information has come from, but there you go. The anonymous source from the inside has leaked that information to me, and I've just shared it with you. So we'll see if it all kicks off now, because I know that.
Well, let's put a pin in that, and then we'll see, and then if anything happens...
I genuinely don't know who it is,
We can come back to it.
I don't know who it is. I don't know who the magician is. I have no idea. And it might not be true. Maybe it's someone messing with me. But we'll see over the next few weeks and months whether the anonymous source from the inside actually does know what's going on, or whether I'm being wound up in the biggest possible way.
Yeah, well, you never know with these things. You never know if stories are true or not. And, like, I just remembered, like, a thing that I heard. I was thinking, oh, yeah, that story. I've never found out if that was true or not. And it was told to me by Noel Britton, our friend, and a comedian had told him it. And the story goes that Darren Brown was doing a corporate gig in the south of France. And he was with a few other comedians doing this show. And this comedian that was working with Darren told Noel. So it's come from there. Right? And I hope this is true. Because what happened is, Darren Brown's bags didn't turn up, and they were due to do the performance that evening. So it was about 5 o'clock. His bags hadn't turned up. They were set to leave, to go for the tech run and stuff like that. And Darren's panicking, going, "Well, I can't do my show. None of my props have turned up. What am I going to do?" And it's big corporate gig. And I imagine if it's Darren Brown, very nice fee. Right?
NF, as we call it, a nice fee.
A VNF. A very
very nice
very
fee.
Nice fee. I imagine it was for good money. And it was panicking that he couldn't do it. And then about 7 o'clock, the porter guy came through and went, "Great news, your bags have turned up." And he went, "Oh, thank goodness." And this comedian was telling Noel and said, the funny thing is, when he went on stage, he only had like a pad of paper and a pen.
That's absolutely brilliant.
You could have borrowed them for a reception.
It's weird. All he had was...
I don't know why he was panicking.
He just had a pound coin and a dice, and I don't understand.
We could have got that stuff. Yeah, so that is a story that I hope is true, because that made me laugh.
That is absolutely brilliant. Oh, yeah. Talking about big names in Magic, Darren Brown. At the end of this week's episode, so the podcast you're listening to right now, at the very end of this episode, after the Troy interview, there is a huge announcement, an enormous announcement about next week's episode. It's...
Oh, is it that I am finally talking to the guests?
No, it's not that. No, it's about me talking to a guest, but it's a big, big deal next week's episode. So, honestly, put it in your diary already. If you want to, look, this is a podcast. You could just fast forward to the end right now if you want to find out who it is. But I would advise you don't do that. Listen to Hudson and me chatting, listen to Troy, and then at the end you'll have this lovely little thing at the end where you get this big announcement about next week's episode that I think the Magic world is going to be very, very excited about. So
that'll be a treat, because people will forget, right? Because they'll be listening to all this. They'll be balls deep in this now, right? They'll be absolutely loving it. And they'll be thinking, hilarious banter again between Young and Hudson, and then some more insightful stuff with you and Troy, and then wham at the end, big enough, and they'll have forgotten about it, and it'll be a nice little, it'll be like a little cherry on top, a little.
It's like Muhammad Ali, left hook, right hook, knockout punch. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So imagine it like bosh, bosh. Bosh! There you go. That's what the end of this week's episode is. Next week's episode is incredibly exciting. Honestly, I can't wait.
Hey, let me tell you this. So we've been doing a couple of bad gig stories recently, and I got a few messages this week from listeners from the podcast saying they really enjoyed the Invisible Deck story that I told last week. And if you've not heard that, go back and listen to that one. And people have been saying, "Oh, is that like the worst one?" That is not the worst one.
Right. Are you going to share it now?
I'm going to show it now. I'm going to tell you, this isn't a bad story on stage. This is a bad story of something that was happening during the show and then after the show. So, I used to work at Flamingo Land, and my job one night was to compare the Illusion show. And there was a magician called Martin James who was doing the Illusion act, and I would share the dressing room with all the dancers. Mm-hmm. Of course I would. What a legend.
That's the place to be.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to do that in 2019 anymore.
No, I couldn't. But there was only one sort of dressing room, and we all had to share. And bear in mind that I'd been doing this for a few months. I knew exactly what time I had to turn up. There was no problem with traffic and stuff like that. So I would just saunter in. I'd get a drink from the bar, and I would go backstage and do it. So on this particular night, I turned up in my costume, right? Because I knew where I was going. It was easy. Had a quick drink in the bar. I got backstage. Somebody bought me another drink. Now I don't normally have 2 pints before I go on, right? But I was young. This was when I was about 19, something like that. So it's a long time ago.
Fair
and
enough.
It was at Flamingo Land, so let's be honest, who cares? But in this room, there's about anywhere between 500 and 1,000 people on any given night. Right. So I'd had a couple of drinks. Now, the illusionist goes out and does his bit. Great. The dancers going out and doing their bit. I'm comparing it with my hacky 6-card repeat or pom-pom stick or whatever shit I'm doing at the time to get through it. And then it occurs to me that I really need a wee, right? But there is no sink backstage.
And most importantly, first of all, no toilet, right? The sink wasn't your first option.
Sure, sorry, I already knew there wasn't a toilet. Yeah, I should have probably mentioned that, really. Yeah, there's no toilet. There's no sink even. And I thought, oh, what am I going to do? Yeah, that'd be very weird if I went, first option, where's the sink? And so I went, oh no, what am I going to do? Because I thought, well, maybe I could run through the audience, because the only way to get to the toilets in the venue was to go through the entire audience. But then they would all see me, right? And it was rammed. It was summer night, absolutely rammed. I thought, there's no way I can go there and back in time. Anyway, luckily, I knew they were on for 3.5 minutes because I could see the length of the track on the mini disc player. Right? So I went, I've got 3.5 minutes. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
I've got 3.5 minutes to go for a wee, and I'm going to go in this half pint glass. right, that had been left that I could see. Because my full pint glass had still got a bit of beer in it. So I went for it. Now, I don't know how many times you weed into a pint glass, but it filled quicker than I thought it would, and with much more volume. Luckily, one of the other girls had got like a half pint glass, so I got their half pint glass as well, and I almost filled that. I was getting worried, but so basically I filled 2 half pint glasses. Now the girls came off. I put it on a high shelf, and this story is not going where you think it's going. By the way, none of them drank this drink. I said to them, "Look, I'm really sorry. Look, there's no sink, or indeed a toilet, backstage." So I've had to wee into this, and they were all going, "Oh, Alan, you're disgusting," right? And right, probably is. Anyway, show carries on, all fine. They said to me, "You've got to get rid of them right now. It's disgusting." So I went, "Okay." So I'm now holding 2 half pint glasses of my own.
Oh, goodness me. Yeah.
I then, get these out, remember, the only toilet in the venue is at the back of the room. So I have to then fight my way through somewhere between 500 and 1,000 people that had just seen me on stage doing magic with 2 full half pints of my own wee. Anyway, so kids, of course, are running around, coming up to me, people coming up to me going, "I enjoyed the show." And then I go, "Oh, thank you very much," holding them in each hand. Anyway, luckily, I managed to make it to the toilet door. The toilet door was on a swing. I then thought, how am I going to do this? I could back into it, but no, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll kick it open just in case there's anybody sort of going to knock me. I don't want to tip it over anyone. I'll just push it open with my foot. So I kicked the door open with my foot. At this point, a 10-year-old kid runs out the toilet without looking, straight into me, and the 2 half pints all over me.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
And if you remember the beginning bit of this story, I'd come to work in my performing clothes. So therefore, yeah, for the entire night, I had 1 pint of my own urine.
Oh my goodness me. Well, I hope you learned your lesson and you haven't done that again.
Yeah, that is probably the worst gig story I've had. There you go.
Great story, Hudson. That's why you're on this podcast, to share stories just like that.
Stories just like you don't get this from Paul Keeve.
You don't get it from Paul Keeve. This is a fantastic episode coming up today with Troy. Do you know Troy?
No, never really met him. I've said hello to him a couple of times, but never had a chat with him. So I'm looking forward to this. I've never had him been interviewed, actually. So I've seen his TV shows, and I've seen him do bits and pieces at International Magic Convention a few years ago. But yeah, never met him. Was it good?
I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know him either, and I really, really like him. I kind of expected this. You know, look, let's be honest. I expected maybe I'd be a bit jealous. He's a really good-looking guy. He's probably going to be a bit arrogant. I couldn't have been more wrong. What a lovely, lovely person. He's very down to earth and very self-aware, and we got on really, really well. And I'm really pleased with this podcast. It's what you're about to hear. I think is amazing. He's going to talk in great detail about things that have not worked out for him, and he's had a tough time actually over the last couple of years after a project which didn't go too well for him, and trying to get back to where he was. And I think everyone is going to love this podcast. And more importantly, by the end of this, I think you're going to absolutely love Troy, because he's a great guy. So here he is. We met at the Magic Circle. This was recorded downstairs in the library. This is Troy.
Got good nails, by the way.
I've got good nails.
Very good nails. Very shiny.
Thanks. That makes me, especially the trendiest guy in Magic, pretty much. You know, if you say to me, "I've got good nails,"
no, I need to get my nails done. There's a lot going on. A bit dry.
It's very interesting you say that, because I was going to start this by saying I've never felt more uncool.
Oh no.
Than sitting in a room opposite you, because
no.
You're the coolest man in Magic. I think you pretty much are, aren't you?
I mean, that's. I mean, I can't say I'm the coolest, but if other people say that, then
let's talk about then. If you can't be, obviously you're very modest. That's good, and you're a nice guy. You can't talk about kind of, you know, whether you're cool or not.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the image of Troy though, because it's given some consideration. I look at your Instagram today, and you've got, you know, you're portraying the life as well. You've got pictures of you in different parts of the world in pools, and clearly you work out and everything. Talk to me about the image. Who is Troy?
Who is Troy? Troy is a very fun, modest, shy, quite weird person to be around. Like, my sense of humor is quite dark, quite weird. I don't think I got to showcase that enough in my first 2 series. It's a very safe, very mainstream friendly Troy. But I love fashion. I love, obviously, the finer things in life.
Yeah. Are they diamond earrings that you're wearing?
Oh no, these are cubic zirconia.
I don't even know what that means.
Sometimes you've got to fake it till you make it.
Right.
Some may say I've made it, but in my mind, there's still a long way to go. But yeah, Troy is, I like to say, mysterious as well, because I think mystery is a big part of who we are as magicians. And especially with this Instagram generation, everyone's just putting so much stuff out, and it's like, we're not even like wondering anymore. I like people to wonder what my next move is. When is he going to post his next trick? Like, what is going on? But we're always told that you've got to keep posting, you've got to keep them interested. But I feel like it's running my own TV channel at some point, and I just don't have the consistency in that way. I'd rather create bodies of work and put that out on a platform where I think it deserves to be. I think Instagram just makes it really disposable.
I'm interested to know, we've not had anyone else talk about this on the podcast, so I'm interested to know, because I think you're well placed to discuss it. The difference, especially today in 2019, between Twitter and Instagram. Twitter is not as busy as it used to be, is it? And Instagram, but do you post different types of content on them, or is Instagram more your focus these days? How do you look at it? Yeah,
I mean, for business, Instagram is definitely a lot more valuable than Twitter. I think Twitter's great for instant feedback. Of course, you can post videos and pictures and memes or whatever, but with Instagram, it's, people can look at the body of your content in a seamless, easier way.
Yeah, literally on a grid, isn't it?
On a grid, exactly. You can see, and when you're someone that works with brands and PR companies want to contact you to maybe do some stuff, they always want to see examples of your work. So it's a great sort of canvas to have all your best bits of work, so they can look at it, because everyone does. All the brands they just say, okay, who's this guy? What's his Instagram? Okay, let's just go through. They look at the first 9 posts. Got some magic. Yeah, okay, his magic's good. He looks cool. Okay, he's right for this project. So Instagram's important in that aspect. But I think in terms of, this is me personally, just putting out trick after trick after trick, it's just not really my vibe. I mean, you've got guys like Julius Dean. Julius Dean's the biggest example, because he's got 5-6 million followers now, and he just churns out the trick. Now, it's working for him business wise, and obviously the lay people soaking it up, so that works really well for him. I'm seeing the stuff that he's at, and he's doing really well. But that's not going to get him on the carrier bag of French Connection, is it? Like you did. You've had a different approach, haven't you? Then is what you're saying. Yeah. And you use the word business, which I find fascinating, because I go on Instagram just to see what Hudson's been up to. But you said you literally view it as a business. It's somewhere where people are going to look at you potentially for a branding opportunity or something. Yeah, you have to be very strategic about your posts. Like with Instagram, you're creating a perception of yourself. Like, I could be a baker in reality, but I'm portraying this. I'm this magician in Instagram reality, but I'm a magician, and I want to portray myself in the best way possible. I want people to look at it and go, okay, he dresses well, he's elegant. Obviously, I'm someone who has quite a distinguished style. I've got tattoos and sleeves, and some people, that might not be everyone's cup of tea, but I think in this sort of generation, especially with how the media is, it's a lot more acceptable. And like we were discussing before, in terms of the whole diversity thing, it's important for me to show people how I'm different from other magicians. So I don't want to cover up things that people may find, he's got tattoos everywhere. I want to show that, show how different I am. It's not, having tattoos is not different. Loads of people got tattoos, but I was one of the first magicians that sort of came out on TV sleeved up with tattoos on a mainstream level on E4. So I think it's important to sort of continue that sort of look about me and just sort of progress it. And I just try to be a bit more mature with it as well, and not so kid friendly. Like magic, I think, is seen as a novelty. to the general public. It's just, oh, go on then, do a trick. And I've always hated that perception. And that's what kind of made me fall out of love with magic. After the High Wire came out, I sort of fell out of love with magic. And I was just like, do I really want to do this? Because I just felt quite disheartened with it. And it's after coming off the back of my second series, you know, you just, for yourself, you just want to do something bigger and better. And this was, the High Wire was meant to be that, but it kind of fell flat. And I was just like, man, you start doubting yourself. Like, am I really cut out for this? What do I have to say with magic? What is my voice in magic? Do I have anything to contribute? And over a couple of years of just sort of analysing and just picking up different things and sort of not thinking about magic too much, I sort of gravitated back towards it. And I think that happens with people, especially when your passion becomes your work. It becomes such a grey area and it's not fun anymore. You feel a lot of pressure behind it. And I feel now that I've got the passion back. I feel like I have something to say. I've written some TV treatments up, and these shows will truly show who Troy is, in my opinion, and how I've grown from the first and second series.
You're absolutely spot on what you say about how you can fall out of love with it. In fact, we've heard it quite a few times on this series from various different people who went through a phase of it being everything and then falling out of love with it. I spent 2 hours yesterday in Prop Dog Magic Shop and I absolutely loved it. Just in there, and there was no agenda. I wasn't looking for something. Yeah. I was just looking at tricks and
just being in the environment.
Yeah, they were showing me things. I'm going, how does that work? You know, something that's completely escaped me by that came out 2 years ago.
Yeah.
What sort of thing? And when I look at your career on paper and like I have done over the last day or two, looking at you, I think your timing was really unfortunate. Actually, one of the things I thought was, I mean, your first series was 2014. That's right as Dynamo was at the height of this thing. I mean, and it's inevitable. In fact, I've watched clips where you're on this morning and Philip Schofield said, you know, wow, how do you do it when Dynamo's around? And that comparison, I feel at times unfair. How did you feel about it? You get asked that question a lot, don't you?
I mean, obviously there's not a lot of magicians at one time in the mainstream. So when you have, it's like most people can only have one magician at a time. Their mind can only cope with one at a time. So when I came out at the same time, I think Dynamo was on his second series and I was filming my first. And, you know, there's a lot of similarities in our shows. You know, his show's focusing on him as a person and he's just going about the street, going to different countries, doing magic. And, you know, my show's about me and, you know, I'm talking a bit more to camera. And obviously I'm doing street magic as well, and you know it's similar, so of course I'm gonna draw those comparisons, but you know people always try to pigeonhole you into what someone else has done, and it's like, you know, are you the next Dynamo? So, well, no, you already got Dynamo. I'm the first Troy. And it's just getting people to see that, but you need to put out lots of bodies of work for people, and you have to do it in your own way as well. I think when you're working with a TV production company that and a channel that's funding your show, the commissioner's going to have an idea of what they want the show to be, and you kind of have to fit that mold in a way. I think it's not until you sort of get years of experience in it and then they start trusting you, and then you can sort of implement the way you really want to be shown. And it takes time to get that trust from the channel. I mean, if you look at Darren, I mean, he was doing Trick of the Mind, and we all know that's not what he really wanted to do until he started doing his theatre shows, and it took about a decade for him to do what he wanted to do. But yeah, it's all about timing as well. Timing, you know, the timing of... But the timing has actually worked quite well for me because Dynamo is such a success, and especially on a small channel like Watch, other channels are like, oh shit.
So I mean,
people like magic.
So let's be fair then. Let me ask you this directly. Do you feel that first series you got was a result of Dynamo's success? E.g., the channels, they're not that clever really, are they? I'm sorry to be blunt. They look and go, well, that's working on that channel. We should have something like that.
They see the audience has an appetite for magic. You need to find a magician. So yeah, it worked in my favour. The success of Dynamo enabled me to get my first series. If Dynamo flopped, then other channels wouldn't be looking for a magician, and I probably wouldn't get the opportunity to do a show. Maybe I would, who knows? But
so talk to me about the process of you getting that first show. We've already spoken before the podcast about I assumed that your management were involved. You actually said you got that opportunity before you even had management.
Yeah.
So who found you? Did you go to them? How did the first show come about?
So I was doing a lot of, like every magician starts doing the odd gigs and doing like little residencies in restaurants and stuff. And there was this residency that I started doing courtesy of Zap Magic. I'm sure you appreciate the shout out.
Yeah.
Zap worked in a restaurant called Nolita's, which is shut down. Only about a couple of years ago now. But it used to be like the hotspot. Like you had footballers come in, celebrities, TV execs. It was like a restaurant, but they had like a party after hours. And Zap's was always sort of doing gigs. So I was sort of covering when he couldn't do it. And they started having me in a lot more because I guess I'm sort of more a bit younger, fresh faced, and I don't know. Me and Zap are like completely different, So I think I worked for that kind of audience that they had. And on one night, I was asked to come down. And there are 2 floors to this restaurant. So I normally did like a 2-hour set, go to the tables, do my thing. And as I was about to leave, the manager calls me back and he's like, "Oh, Troy, would you mind just doing upstairs just another half an hour?" My last train was going back home. Otherwise, I'd have to pay like £50 for a cab fare to go back. And, I wasn't making big money. I was making like £100 for 2 hours. So I thought, screw it, I'll do it. The last table I go to had a TV executive on it. Didn't know who he was. He didn't say who he was. I was just, doing my thing. Just in like, he was like, "I like your stuff. Give me your card." And I was like, cool. I just thought, might be a person that wants to book me for a gig at some point. Emails me the next day and he's like, "Hi, I'm so-and-so from this production company, Zigzag Productions. Would you like to come in for a meeting? I think, it'd be really great for TV." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So at this time, I was working in G-Star Raw, which is a retail shop. If people don't know.
Good jeans, right?
Great jeans.
Yeah.
Very innovative.
That was me showing that on cover.
No, they're great. They're a great company. So yeah, I was working at G-Star at the time. My manager at G-Star, I told him, "I got to do this meeting. I need to shift off. Actually, could you come with me and act as my manager for Magic?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure." And I was surprised they actually agreed. So he went there, talked to the guy, and had some videos on YouTube and stuff. And he sort of pitched the videos that I had, and we got a pilot from BBC America. So we went to New York, and I didn't know how to make a magic show at all. Like I was like my own consultant on the show, so I was like trying to build stuff and make things. They had one guy that worked on Chris Angel's show, but he had like no sort of like magic making experience or even know what tricks to like involve in the show. Anyway, fast forward, that sort of fell flat on its face. Didn't really work. BBC America like, "Yeah, we don't want to do magic now." Then Channel 4 called me immediately after that news, and they were like, "Oh, can we have a meeting with you?" I'm like, "Cool." Commissioner, have a meeting with the commissioner, and she really liked me, and she was like, "All right, cool. Let's do a pilot." Did a pilot, shot over 3 days in December, and then by January 2013, they're like, "Cool, let's do a 6-part series on Channel 4." And I was like, "What?" Really?
It's like, that's the dream, right?
Yeah, but it didn't feel real.
How old are you at this point?
I was 23 at this point.
That's incredible.
Yeah. It's always things like, when you go to like tables and stuff and people are like, "Oh my God, you're so good, you should be on TV." And like, yeah, And then when it actually happens, it was just like, what?
Yeah, but there's a bit you're forgetting there, which is how many magicians listening to this, be honest with yourself, would have gone upstairs to that last table?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have.
Yeah.
I'd have gone, "Sorry, I got to catch my last train, I'm out here." So there was already something in you that was like, "You know what? Let's just do it."
That was the moment where everything changed, Just impressing that one person got me up to this point today, so... Yeah.
So they say to you, "Okay, we're going to do a 6-part series." So I'm interested, you're 23.
Yeah.
You're very... They'll be able to see it themselves. You're very young. You've been working in a restaurant. The guy knows where he met you.
Yeah.
Did they trust you to be involved creatively, or did they take complete control and go, no, we're gonna you're gonna be the guy, but we're gonna create the show?
Yeah, the atmosphere was like never created where it's just like, okay, you just perform the trick, like we'll write the songs and produce the track, you just go and perform it, kind of thing. It never felt like that. It was very collaborative. Like I was, all tricks were discussed with me of what I wanted to do. in regards to how it was shot and everything, that was kind of beyond me. It's like I didn't know, like, how would it be shot, how would it look, what's the format of the show. There was no real format when we did the pilot. It was just, you know, they wanted something that worked. So what worked? Street magic. So we just did street magic and a bit about me. So it's not like we've always had this magician that's always mysterious and weird, and, you know, David Blaine started that, and then Dynamo's done it, and, you know, they wanted something that was a bit more open and just like an everyday person, but can do incredible things.
And that's from the success of reality TV, right?
Yeah.
People like reality nowadays, don't they?
Yeah.
More than characters and all the rest of it. So
Exactly.
that was the decision that was made. Talk to me about some of the people, the magicians that helped with you on the show. As you said, you obviously, they brought people in.
Yeah.
Who were some of the influences who helped you creatively with the magic
Yeah.
and stuff?
So on the first series, Jerry Sims, we had Ollie Mealing, he came in for a bit. Remember Dan White, he was meant to help out a little bit, but he had his own thing going on. He was like doing Kanye West's like live show, and the time that he had, he was sort of like sending me over some stuff. Who else? Had Paul Cook. Basically, we just brought on a team that had experience with magic, and especially, you know, a big 6-part series, you know, we need people that have done this before. So, you know, some people that have worked on the Dynamo team has worked with me. And on the second series, we had B. Smith, Sharky and Long, we had Patrick Kuhn, Blake Voigt, Matthew Bish. There's some like really like top minds in magic like working with me, and obviously Mark Kirstein as well. I've worked with Mark with a lot of stuff that I've done actually, and, you know, Mark's great. Everyone was really great, you know. Everyone has their own thing that they contribute. You know, Patrick, you know, he's just a phenomenal magician. He's like one of my favorites. Blake as well. Everyone has their thing, but, you know, we had really talented people working with me, collaborating, coming up with stuff. And Tom Elderfield came in for a little bit.
We affectionately refer to him on this podcast as like an annoying younger brother. Hudson came up with that. It's spot on. Talk to me a little bit about, and this is not exclusive to your TV series, this is magic across the board on television, and I understand it that, you know, there's budgets and there's deadlines and all the rest of it. It's very tempting, isn't it, to go down the road of dodgy editing. Or we've got a sound problem. Yeah. Let's just stop for a minute and run that thing down the road to where it's going to reappear inside a tin of beans. You don't need to give me any specific examples. Yeah. We don't need to look at your work exclusively. Yeah. Just tell me your thoughts on that. Do you wish it didn't exist? Do you understand why it does?
I understand why it exists, you know. When you're making a TV show, like you said, you know, you've got time constraints, you've got budget constraints, and you need to get the material shot, it needs to work, and people need to react. Now, ethically, I would say with magic, for me, what the audience sees and what they react to is what the audience at home has to see and react to. I've never used the fake audience in my magic to get a reaction. I've never duped the audience at home to get a trick to make it look more bigger and powerful than it is. When you edit magic, obviously when you do magic live, you can hide the misdirection the first time because they don't know what they're expecting. But obviously when you film it on TV, you can't cut out the misdirection. So it's just like, how can we make this trick work where people can watch it over and over again and still be impressed? You have to make certain edit points to protect the trick. It's not that the trick was, you know, a con and didn't happen, their reaction's fake. It's to protect the magic. For people that want to keep going and going and going, watching it again, trying to figure it out.
So that's really interesting, and no one's ever said that on here before. So you're saying to me a decision is made that this needs to stand a repeat viewing.
Yes.
E.g., someone can rewind it and watch it again, and they're not going to see something which
exactly.
There's been a change there, because when I was a kid, watching Paul Daniels, you could do that. Watch again and go, oh, I missed it, but there it was.
Exactly.
So you're saying the type of TV shows being made now, that is a conscious decision.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Blaine's latest stuff now, he's specifically tailored magic where he can film it in one shot. Now, it's a lot harder, and, you know, considering the pressures from the channel, especially when you don't have 100% control, and they're just like, yeah, we want big tricks, we want the biggest thing ever, and it's just like, okay, how can we actually make this work? And the bigger they want it, then the harder it is to actually achieve it, and then you end up getting something that just looks too good to be true.
So let me challenge you then and ask you a slightly challenging question, which is one of the clips I watched this morning. Is you in a bookshop levitating?
Yes.
I know a little bit about illusions. I know how levitations work.
Yeah.
Is that close to it, where you go, that those people in that library, they're being controlled, aren't they, to an extent? They're being told where to stand, and all the rest of it. Do you think that's too close to the line or something like that, or?
A little bit. It's on the nose a little bit. But at the end of the day, you're making an entertainment show. We're not like what the audience see when I was levitating. Yeah, it was fixed. It was like, okay, when we're filming, we're like, okay, everyone just stay in their positions, and Troy's gonna try and blow your minds.
Yeah.
And then we do it, and they listen to the instruction, they stay in their position, but from their angle, they can't see anything. Like it's what it looks like on TV. But yeah, I mean, obviously in a real world situation, doing a trick like that, you can't just be like, okay guys, you just stay there while I do this. It's hard to control that. But again, TV magic is totally different than it's the same as stage magic. You're controlling the elements on the stage. If you're doing a floating light bulb, like, you've got things rigged up to make that happen. It's the same as when you're doing a TV show. Like, this comic book is my stage now. We're making things happen to make this illusion work. It's no different. It's just the fact that people are like, oh yeah, but it's on TV, and it's just like, just doesn't matter if it's on TV. It's the same principles being used.
The Magicians Podcast, brought to you in association with the Magic Circle, the world's premier magical society. Are you ready to join the world's most exclusive magic club? Visit themagiccircle.co.uk to find out more.
Gigi-O, free for 30 days. Be a pro, get Gigi-O.
Jordan O'Grady says it's simply brilliant. Frees up time while making you look professional. It's a win-win. What's he talking about? Well, Gigi-O, of course. Top professional magicians love using Gigi-O to manage their bookings and admin. It's an easy-to-use web-based software that takes care of your inquiries, contracts, invoices, payments, and reports. You can generate professional PDF contracts in seconds and allow your clients to agree them online quickly and conveniently. It will even automatically update the diary on your phone. Read what other magicians say about Gigi-O and take a free 30-day trial right now at getgigio.com. Getgigio is spelled GetGigio.com.
Whether you're new to magic or a seasoned professional, Alakazam Magic are here to help. Alakazam have been supplying magic to magicians for well over 20 years. Not only do we carry all the latest and greatest magic tricks, books and DVDs, but we also manufacture one of the finest ranges of magic tricks in the world. The Alakazam name is synonymous with great customer service, educated advice, and honesty. So if you're shopping for new magic, make sure you check out our website, www.alakazam.co.uk, or pay a visit to our fully stocked shop.
And because you're a podcast listener, you can receive 20% off the Alakazam Online Magic Academy right now. Simply enter the code MP20 at the checkout and you'll receive 20% off your subscription. It's a fantastic new way of learning magic. There's new content every single month and a great community building up on there. Whether you are a full-time professional magician looking for a new routine or someone who is brand new for magic, it's the perfect place to learn new things. The Alakazam Online Magic Academy is available to Magician Podcast listeners right now with a 20% discount. Simply enter the code MP20 at the checkout to receive your discount. So one of the things I noticed when I looked at the show on the internet this morning was that the first season ended up being 5 episodes and then like a best of, and then the second season was only 4 episodes. Is there an interesting story why that happened, or?
Yeah. So when I got the first series to do 6 episodes, we're allocated money for each episode, and because it was the production company's first time making a magic show, it was a bit of a learning curve for them as well, on how to actually do it and how to, you've got to come up with at least, say, 60% of the material, 50% of the material before you even start shooting, just so you have things ready to go, and just in case things don't work. But what happened was a lot of money was being used in areas where it probably didn't need to be used, spending a lot of time coming up with material, because on the day we started shooting, we really didn't have that much ready, so we're always playing catch up. And eventually, we ran out of time, and even though went back to the channel, tried to get more money to finish it, they have a deadline of when they want it to go to air. So we were getting very close to that deadline when they wanted to air, and just like, look, we're gonna have to make 5 episodes and give you a compilation episode as the 6th. And obviously the channel were quite disappointed. I mean, it's not my fault. It's a production error, because I don't manage the money or anything. It's it's all in their hands. I'm there to help come up with tricks and perform it to the best of my ability. On the second series, we got 4 episodes, because loosely of what happened on the first series, and they just wanted to know that because it's the same production company that made the first series or the second series, they just wanted to give them something, I guess, that was more manageable and something that they could actually accomplish within the time frame that we had before it goes to air. So that was one of the main reasons why.
Yeah, because I think like it was going out in sort of February, March time, I think, each year, and then literally it was like the next March, the next series out. So you go, and I'm sure they didn't immediately say yes, we'll have a second series. So there's probably a delay.
Well, they did want the second series as the first series was airing, and I think because it got sold to Discovery Channel and got showed all around the world.
Apparently it was shown in like 120 countries or something like that, which I
think more actually.
That's amazing, right?
No, really good, and it just widened my fan base, and it's like a dream come true. It's just like everyone knows like being a magician is like fucking hard, man, and it's hard to make money and just to make a living. You need to have like little side jobs just to keep yourself afloat half the time. So the fact that I was able to get this TV show, have it shown all around the world, and it took just a year to make that happen, and it's just even today it's unbelievable that I've come this far after just doing just simple tricks.
Yeah. So talk to me about the branding deal, which we all saw. Which I mean, from the outside you look at it and go, someone's made a lot of money. Which was the French Connection deal. You were on all their branding and their shop windows and on all their carrier bags and stuff. How does that come about?
Well, I was with CAA, and they've got all their different departments. They've got their branding department, they've got their booking department, stuff like that. So this came from the branding department, and it's funny, I think it was out of me and Dynamo who was going to get that gig, and I'm 6 foot tall, and probably more, dare I say it, the better looking one out of us two. I mean, I am modest, but when it comes to the modelling jobs, I feel confident if it's going to be out of us two that I would get it. No disrespect to Dynamo, but I guess I fit the clothes better too. I mean, I don't know what they were judging it on, if it was that or if it was something else, but it was at a time when my show just came out. I was fresh, I was new in people's mind. French Connection wanted magic, and it's just like, well, let's get the new hottest guy on the scene, so that's...
Is that the most lucrative deal you've done? I mean, it looks like it from the outside. You go a major retailer like that and a national... Was it national or an international campaign?
No, it was international. I mean, I've got pictures from like all over the world, like people from Las Vegas saying, "Oh my God, I just seen you on the taxis in Las Vegas." And I was like, "Oh shit!" And people in New York, like New York magicians, especially, I'm like, "Oh shit!" I didn't realize it was like spreading out that far. But yeah, I mean, that was a big lucrative deal.
Great. Why was there no third series? Did you ever get any feedback on that, or is it just they go, "No, this story's been told, move on to the next thing," or do you have any insight into why there wasn't a third series?
Why there wasn't a third series? I think, well, one of the reasons there wasn't a third series because we wanted to do something else. We didn't exactly know what that was going to be yet. And the second series didn't do as well as the first series, and that's in my opinion, that's because of where it was placed. My first series was on a Tuesday evening. You know, people are at home, nothing really going on, and it's a great time to have something on Tuesday at 10 p.m. My second series was on like Sunday at 10 p.m. and one of the Sundays it was Mother's Day, and it was Champions League football. So 2 of the episodes didn't. The thing is, I always got good ratings, but it wasn't as good as the first series in terms of ratings. So I think that could have contributed as to why I wasn't given a third series straight away. But they still extended my exclusivity contract, and it's, you know, through management as well, that we wanted to like do something else. And I felt like Street Magic has sort of had its sort of time now. You know, Dynamo's doing it, I'm doing it, you know, Blaine's been doing it since 97. So it's like, I just felt like, okay, like, what is the new thing now? So that was put to the side, and we ended up doing, and we wanted to test sort of like my presenter skills now. So we did something called Digital Hijack, which later came out as Cyber Hijack. And that went really well. But we were actually going to make a full series of that. But the reason that didn't happen was because the person who commissioned me to do the Troy Magic series, they just wanted me to do solely Magic. So I was a little bit cock-blocked on the on that department in terms of getting that as a full series.
No one's ever said that before on the podcast. For the reason they didn't get so, you were covered cock-blocked.
No, do you know what? There's a lot of things where people try to cock-block here. I mean, I've got several stories of people trying to cock-block me, but I won't go into it. They know. But so after Digital Hijack, you know, it was just like, okay, let's focus on the Magic again. And that was when the first Highwire installment came out. It was meant to be a series of different challenges that was presented, but as the Highwire one fell flat, we ran out of money again. It wasn't well thought out.
Well, there was a critical thing with this Highwire thing as well, wasn't there? Which was that this was going to be Channel 4, not E4.
Yeah.
And so I remember at the time when this kind of came around, and this is actually where we mention another magician, not Dynamo, which is, that's where Darren's been living.
Yeah.
Channel 4. Yeah. And suddenly it was, oh, there's going to be a Troy special. But then it's also a bit confusing because you go, well, Darren's guy is Andrew O'Connor. Yeah. And now he's making this Highwire thing. So, I mean, let's not mess around. Darren is their thing, and that's what they've made a load of money with, and they tour with, and all the rest of it. And you're coming along now, and you're effectively having that spot.
Yeah.
Did it cross your mind, any of that, or?
Not really. I think if there was any issue in the camp, in Darren Brown's camp, that Andrew O'Connor was working with. But the thing is, it was made by the production company that's sort of, I think it was co-owned by Darren and Andrew, so I think they were fine with it. But no, there wasn't. Nothing came in my mind like I'm trying to take Darren's spot, because Darren has cemented his own lane. Like, I can't. We're 2 completely different performers. Like, I don't think I would ever be compared to him, and he would never be compared to me. I mean, for me, it would be an honour to even have my name alongside him as, you know, someone that's done great things in Magic, or even just up the profile of it in some way. But no, he's done great. But I don't think there was any sort of bad feeling that Andrew was working with me. It's just, you know, it's such a small community of TV people who have Magic experience that the same people tend to be shared around.
So talk to me about the Highwire thing.
Yeah.
I remember hearing at the time, and I wasn't involved in any way whatsoever, but I remember hearing it was like there were loads of problems with it, and some of it was actually just due to weather. It was a very expensive process. You were putting up a Highwire near the O2 Arena. It's all set up, the audience there, and there's too much wind. So everyone has to go home and come back another day. And what other hurdles were there to overcome?
I mean, there was a lot of hurdles. So the way the show started was they didn't want me to know what the challenge was. And in hindsight,
and when you say they, is that the channel?
It's the channel, and partly Andrew's idea as well that I don't know. So they get my genuine reaction on screen when I do find out. And I thought, you know, that was a cool concept, and you know, I trust Andrew. You know, he's done great things for Darren. Darren's done great things for himself, and you know, they're a good sort of team up. So yeah, I found out what the challenge was, and it was doing a Highwire. And I was sort of a bit blown away, like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to do something on a highway. I mean, how high is it gonna be? I mean, am I gonna have safety? And on the day when I found out, I started training immediately, and they filmed the process of me, starting on like a 1 foot kind of wire. And then, through the course of us filming, I'm getting higher and higher. But through that process as well, we're trying to figure out what this final stunt is going to be to end the show. And that's where the problem started to arise, because they couldn't foresee how difficult it was going to be, what the location was. There's a few ideas scattered around, but it was always...
One of them I heard was that you were perhaps going to fall off the high wire and change into a flock of doves or something. Yeah. It was a big elaborate finish like that, which was considered. Is that right?
Yeah, it was going to be a big finish. Like, I was going to fall off. So I guess I can say what it is now. Like, the ending was meant to be, we're going to be at the O2, we're going to have a huge audience there watching. And, I'm like, I think I'm 100 feet off the ground. And that's so high. Like, it was terrifying, actually, just rehearsing it. And... I was meant to walk halfway on the wire with my balance pole, and I was going to fall, but I was going to catch the wire. So people were like, "Oh my God, he's fallen! He's hanging on by the wire!" Like, "Oh, we need to get the safety team up there to try and get him." And then there's like a little net below me, and I can't hold on for much longer because holding on to something for like even more than a minute is so much strain on you. And I was going to fall, hit this net, and actually disappear, and the net breaks, I disappear, and I relocate somewhere else on like a cherry picker. So that was what the stunt was going to be. We rehearsed that drop, but the net was giving us problems. The weather was like, it was such a windy month, like when we was actually meant to perform the whole thing. But there's just a lot of things just not figured out in the way they should have been figured out. And it's annoying because it was meant to be this great spectacular thing, but it didn't end up being that, and we ran out of money. We were spending tens of £1,000s a day on just renting the space at the O2, getting the cranes in, the safety team, like consultants in. It was just a lot of money being spent. And when we couldn't actually do the stunt in the end because we were advised that it's just too windy, like we couldn't even get the cherry picker up to put me at the top of the platform, it was that windy. And it's annoying, as someone that's meant to be the star of the show, to then have to cancel everyone coming down after I've made a big thing. Yeah, come down, it's going to be a big thing. So it's like, it's a bit of embarrassment, and it's like, man, this is not even my fault. Like, and I don't want the channel to look at me as well and think like this is my fault, that this didn't work. And, I had a feeling like this wasn't even my idea. Like I should have known what the idea was in the first place. I should have chosen what the other stunts could have been. Like we should have done something more manageable. Like this felt like this couldn't be done. There's so many wires in place to make things happen. It was a lot. And then eventually we ran out of money, and then the production team had to go back and get some more money from the channel to finish it off, because we had a show that had no end. So we ended up going to the south of France to finish off the show. And the reason we did that was because, number one, it was cheaper. Number two, there was a guy who lived there. Well, he had like a little chateau there. His name was Jade Kindermartin. He trained Joseph Gordon-Levitt to walk a high wire for the film.
The Walk?
The Walk.
The one with the World Trade Center.
Yes. So he trained me, and he had a wire set up, like really long. It's like 80 meters long across this valley. And it had like, at its peak, it was like 30 meters high. And it was pretty scary, actually. And it took a lot of energy to walk from one end to the other. It's like you're spending a good 6-7 minutes just walking alone, like considered steps every step of the way. But anyway, I'm fast forwarding. So yeah, we had to go to Jade Kindermartin's place to train, and just to get an ending for this show. And then the ending ended up being, it's a Marco Tempest idea, where, well, the trick was that what the trick ended up being was the pole changed, my outfit changed, and as I nearly finished the walk, you had Mark Kirstein at the end holding up these cards, doing a countdown under my instruction, and went 3, 2, 1, and on 1 I actually lowered down the card, and I was holding the cards, and Mark was on the wire, and then the camera zoomed out, and we was actually on top of a car park in Peckham, and it was just like, what? it was quite, it's quite an interesting ending, but obviously not the big spectacular ending that we wanted outside the O2 with a huge audience watching. So in that aspect, it was disappointing. And I remember when the show, got its schedule and it was going to air, I didn't want to watch it. And I remember I was sitting in bed, and I was just thinking, after my first series and my second series, being successful for me, and people always want to know what's the next biggest thing that you're going to do, and you always want it to triumph the things that you've done before, and I just felt that it didn't, and I felt like I let myself down a little bit, and I don't know, I was just going through a lot of emotions, and I remember speaking to my manager, and she was like, they said they were going to repeat it or something, and I was like, I don't want it repeated, don't let them repeat it. And the people that worked on the show, like you had Rory Adams, Mark Kirstein, they worked really hard, and trying to just make the tricks within the show look good. And thinking about it now, I just go through different feelings, and yeah, it's not the show that I wanted it to be, and I'm sure everyone would agree. Like even Andrew O'Connor, it's not the show that he wanted it to be either. But yeah, it is what it is, and you learn from these things, and what you want to do next time. And just touching back on, when I fell out of love with magic after that point, and I just didn't know, after that was like my first sort of thing where I felt like I failed, and I was just like, is this for me? Do I have anything to give or to show anyone?
So talk to me about what happens after that then. So you, like you said, you put all your heart and soul into this, regardless of how it ended up. I can see the pain on your face. You're talking, you put your heart and soul into this thing, and for various reasons that were not within your control, it didn't turn out we expected. It goes out, it's not that well received, you don't even like it yourself. What's the next thing after that? Do you go, right, okay, let's start writing the next TV show, or are you aware that door has closed for Channel 4 now because it wasn't a success? What happens next?
I mean, to be honest, I think that Channel 4 door closed for me after that, and it was fine because I felt like I couldn't contractually do anything outside of Channel 4 TV wise. So if I had another opportunity of, let's say, ITV or BBC, I couldn't do it because I was exclusive to Channel 4.
Until when? When was that deal?
It was like a yearly renewal. So obviously, the money's good for an exclusivity contract, and you don't have to do anything on TV and you're still getting paid. So it's a great deal, but you want to make the most of that opportunity. And I feel like even though they know that it wasn't specifically my fault, it's still like they've invested a lot of money into this, and it didn't get.
Oh, it's a business decision, isn't it? They look at it and go, "We've put all this money in, and it didn't do what we hoped it would be. So do we now put more money into it, or do we just leave it?" So did they renew the contract the following year?
They didn't renew the contract the following year because we actually wanted to explore doing something with other platforms as well, which would have been a conflict within my contract. So the way it ended was kind of like good timing as well with what I wanted to do and expand outside of that. But at the same time, I was still a bit disheartened by the outcome of the show, and I was just in a place where I just didn't know what I wanted to do next. I was like, should I have just done a third series? Should I have just done that? Because I know that people love that and they just want to, see what I'm up to and see me do magic on the street. It's easy watching, and it was fun and it worked really well for me. A lot of work off the back of it, and it just works. But to really create your own lane, you have to take risks, and you have to go into areas that have been unexplored.
That's what Darren did with Russian Roulette.
Exactly.
He'd had a series and what have you, but then that was we'll try something different, and that worked for him. That's the...
Exactly. And it's hard to point fingers and stuff like that, but you know, there's some things that work, some things that don't work, and unfortunately that show just didn't work for me. But you know, a few years have passed now, and I've got something new hopefully lined up, and hopefully people will see the show that I truly want to make.
Has it been tough the last couple of years, like you said, when you've not been making TV stuff? You know, I assume you've been gigging and what have you, but you've not been putting out content. Has it been a tough period of time the last year or two?
Yeah, you definitely see sort of, you know, I was getting so many gigs off the back of this series. Like, I didn't even have to think about money. Like, it was just coming in. And, you know, obviously there's a correlation between you being on TV and the amount of work that you come in. And when I hadn't been on TV for a while, the gigs didn't come in as fast as they were coming in, so we just had to work a bit harder to try and get them. And obviously, like, times are changing as well. Instagram's like becoming a bigger thing now, and people are creating, you know, big platforms for themselves where they don't actually need TV. And you know, streaming is going. When I got the show in 2014, 2015, you know, Netflix wasn't as big as it was. I think Amazon was as big as it was. So, but now, yeah, everything's shifting to streaming, and you know, it's challenging for TV now. But yeah, no, it's been difficult, but you know, it hasn't been terrible.
I remember Darren Brown talking about this actually, which he said there was a period of time in his career where he was sort of stuck in the middle.
Yeah.
E.g., he's not a 500 quid wedding magician anymore.
Yeah.
And he's now a $5,000 magician.
Yeah.
But his career wasn't quite at that point where he was in demand for those.
Yeah.
Have you found yourself in that point a little bit where
Yeah.
you're not a 500 quid magician, you're a $5,000 magician, but then you've not been on the telly, so it's had a bit of a knock on? Are you in that sort of area?
Yeah, you know, when you're in the front of people's mind and, you know, you're on TV, you know, people see that as, oh, you know, celebrities, top dollar, this is what is rated. But, you know, if you're not on TV, but you know what your quality is, and you know, and they know what they're going to get, it's a popularity contest at the end of the day, and people want to pay for who's at the front of people's minds. So,
and also celebrity changes so quickly now,
it does.
doesn't it? It's not like 20 years ago where Paul Daniels was it's 30 years ago, Paul Daniels was Paul Daniels. Now it's like, well, now there's the new series of Britain's Got Talent, or the new series of X Factor. It's reality television, so there's a new wave of celebrities every year.
It's a conveyor belt of just talent now. Like, there's just no one person. It's just so many just coming through, and you know, the work has to be. There's only so many gigs, so you know, now the work is just spread around. But when I came out, it's pretty much just me, Dynamo. No, Ben Hanlon had his show on ITV2 at the same time as well.
Again, very different from
very
you
different.
Guys, yeah.
I think, you know, me and Dynamo were like very purist magic, and obviously Ben was more, you know, had his pranks and he had his tricks. So I don't know if he was maybe seen in exactly the same light. But yeah, the work was just pretty much split between us two, I'd say. But
so I do have a question. Why did you never look at doing like a live show, like right around the time your series came out, Dynamo was filling arenas. I mean, different because he was 3 or 4 years ahead of you.
Yeah.
But when the high wire thing wasn't quite, but you still have a following.
Yeah.
Why was a live show not considered? Is that just not what you do? Do you see yourself as a TV magician? Or?
No, I definitely want to do a live show. It's just I didn't know what live show I wanted to do. I didn't want it to be just a magic show. You know, I wanted it to be something true to who I am, but it took me a long time to figure out how do I want to convey my magic to people. Is it just going to be like a theatre show and I'm doing like, you know, 10, 15 tricks to fill up an hour and a half with a nice presentation and, you know, a theme running throughout it? Or do I want to do something that doesn't feel like a magic show, that feels completely different, but magic is obviously the main thread that runs through it? And it was just very hard for me to figure out what I wanted to do. And this is at a time where I wanted to do a live show after, well, just before the high wire, because I thought, okay, this will blow up, this will be good, and then now I can start doing the live stuff. But then everything after the high wire came out, that's when I felt disheartened, and my confidence got hit a little bit, and I was just like, don't know if I'm ready to do a live thing. And then, you know, the longer you leave it gets harder. But you know, I've sort of come through that now, the other end, and I know exactly what I want to say with magic and what I want to do and what lane I want to put myself in. And, you know, it all starts from now. I felt like in my mind I just had to reset.
So can you tell us a little bit about what you're in love with now?
What I'm in love with now?
Is there a type of magic or a type of presentation that you're really in love with?
It's hard to just nail it in one sentence, but, you know, I've always been in love with close-up magic. David Blaine is the one that got me into magic when I was like 12 years old. And, you know, when I'm 12, I'm impressionable like every kid is. You know, I'm seeing a guy, same complexion as me. When magic's a very, you know, white orientated sort of entertainment, you know, I've never seen anyone that I personally connect to. When I saw David Blaine when I was 12, I was just like, oh my god, someone that kind of looks like me. I want to do the stuff that he's doing. Look at the reactions he's getting. And it started from there, and I just fell in love with it, and I just felt like I just needed that same passion that I had then to continue to do the magic that I want to do. And I just had to, every magician is always trying to find their voice with magic. Like, who am I as a performer? Because we tend to replicate other magicians subconsciously because of, you know, when we see when you're growing up, you see someone perform I didn't perform in a David Blaine kind of style, but, you know, I bought the Michael Amar videos and like the Easy to Master Card Miracles when that first came out, and then I was sort of using his patter and stuff like that. And that's what I mean when magicians need to try and find their voice, and it takes time. And I felt like even when I had my series, I wasn't sure if I had my voice yet. But I think now I know what I want my voice to be, and it just comes with, you know, getting it commissioned by the right person on the right platform and just doing it the way that I want to do it and just getting the trust. Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, it'll be very different.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Troy, this has been brilliant, and honestly, I sincerely mean, thank you for being so honest.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to sit here and just talk about, oh, I did this and I did that,
Yeah.
but the fact you've sat here and really talked about things that didn't work for you so
Yeah.
honestly, I know everyone listening to this will really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And you're a very talented, very modest man, which, considering your success, is staggering. So thank you so much.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Cheers.
There's nothing dragging down me, yeah. 'Cause the dog don't push it all out the way.
That was an amazingly open and candid interview. Thank you, Troy. I really appreciate you being on the Magicians podcast. Troy and I chatted for nearly 2.5 hours after that interview ended. He is an incredible mix of talent and modesty, and I have no doubt whatsoever his best days are still ahead of him. Okay, let's talk about next week's episode. It will be released on Friday, the 29th of March, 8 days before the Ehrlich brothers bring their incredible show to Wembley Arena in London for one night only. We've been talking about this show on this podcast for months. It is nearly here. It will be, without a shadow of a doubt, the biggest magic show to happen here in this country since David Copperfield toured over here in the mid-90s. You cannot miss it, and also you cannot miss next week's podcast because the boys, Chris and Andreas Ehrlich, are going to be right here on the Magicians podcast to talk about their incredible rise to fame and this amazing show they are bringing to London. Set a date in your diary. Next Friday, the 29th of March, the Ehrlich brothers on the Magicians podcast. I'll see you there. Have a great week. Take care. Bye-bye.
You